Good morning. Hi, Kathy here from Kathy's Cute Creations with week 3, and we are going to make a crow. Now, I have never assembled a bird of any sort in a block. I've appliqued them, I've made bats, but never a bird, crow. Not a bird, the crow. So let's go ahead. We're going to make 8 of these. I'm going to show you how to make one, then you can make the other 7 on your own. At the end of the video, I will show you Bandit, and then you can see how his face has changed. He doesn't have black around his eyes anymore. It's a light brown. Today, when I take his picture or video, whichever, I haven't decided yet, it's before his haircut, which is tomorrow, and then I will go ahead after he's had his haircut, because this is supposed to be a summer cut for him, and then I'll show another picture of him. The cut that he has now was a baby cut, but it's grown out. It's been 6 weeks. So let's go ahead, and I'm going to show you the fabric down here on the board, and then here are the fabrics that we're using this week, and we're going to be making half square triangles. So I will show you how to use the block lock if you've never used it. It looks like this. I can keep all the lights out of this picture. And this gray is very important when you're positioning your blocks before you cut them. And I also have a couple of rulers of my own down here. If you don't have the block lock, you can use a regular ruler. I will show you how to do that also for anybody that hasn't learned yet. Now, one real quick note. I changed out my blade. This is my Martinelli. That's my rotary cutter. And when I took it apart, the spring literally, which is located, let's see if I can. So the spring is located up, let me see which side it's on. It's on this side here. And as you can tell, I have no spring. This is the side it's located on. Because when I went to take it out, it bounced. And when it bounced, it literally flew behind me. And I have a chair and a whole bunch of stuff. And so, you know what? I don't have the time this morning to pull all of that out in that corner to find that spring. So this is springless. Springless means this little thing is not spring loaded. So it's sort of like having a, just for an idea, it's like having a manual car versus an automatic, if you all know what that is. And I'm pretty sure most of you know what a manual car is. So when you turn this, it's manually, so it's harder than if it was spring-loaded, which is automatic. It'll still work, no big deal. I've got it in there. When you take these apart, you're not supposed to take this spring out, but my spring sprung, so there was nothing I could do about it. And another thing about this is that when you take this apart, normally righty-tighty, lefty-loosey, but in this rotary cutter, the right side is loosening it, and when you turn it to the left side, you're tightening it. So it's just the opposite of what you've learned your entire life. I don't know if they did that on purpose. That was a flaw when they produced this, and they just left it because it's totally different now than any other rotary cutter. Just giving you the heads up about this rotary cutter. We're going to take 10 background fabrics, which are A, and 10 M, whatever color you've designated as M if you didn't buy the kit. We're going to put them together like this, whichever way you want to do it. And we're going to do a 1/4 inch all the way around the entire thing. And even though I'm going to make one block to show you, I'm going to go ahead and do all of them. I'm not going to do one and then stop and then go back and do all the rest. I'm just going to go ahead and do them all and have them all set aside, and then I'll just do one block for the crow. All right, let's get started. I'm going to talk about the current book I'm reading. For all of those that I introduced to Stephanie Bond series, if you remember, and if you don't, that's fine, because I'm going to talk about it now. Series, now this is a free series, comes out on July 1 and ends the last day of December. This series today is called Graveyard Girl. And like I said, it's free, so it doesn't cost you anything. The way that I'm going around these is I'm doing the right side, the left side, and then the right side and the left side. I'm not chain stitching. Yes, you can chain stitch if you want to. Anyway, so it's started on the 1st, and of course, you know, you have no clue what it's going to be like. So I went ahead and started watching it, me and my daughter. Now I got the 2 girls out at work watching it since yesterday. Today is the 4th that I'm sewing this on, so it's due, this will be up on Monday. And I thought I'd wait till the 4th to do it. But anyway, so for all of those that want to go and read a podcast, you've got to read it, okay? So she's not doing a podcast on it. I go to Stephanie Bond, StephanieBond.com. And you might have to, depending on your URL code, I mean, whatever platform, I guess you call it, that you're looking at. I mean, you can do on YouTube, you can look her up, you can do Facebook. So it's wherever on your computer, but that's the one that you're looking for. Now, it is free. It is not being charged. Okay, so if you run across one that says to buy it, you're on the wrong page. But keep going, because when I was looking for it, I had the hardest time finding the darn thing, and I've got her already, what do you call it, bookmarked on my thing. But I was having an issue trying to find it. Normally, I used to watch it on my iPad, but my iPad is so old that I can't bring up YouTube at all on my iPad. And it doesn't even charge to 100% anymore. It's down to the point that I think it's charging at about 70. I just don't have the money to go out and buy one. I'm trying to save my money for that. Of course, this iPad that I have, my daughter bought it for me for Christmas, but that was well over 5 years ago. But anyway, so the story starts out, it gives you a little bit of information about her. She is a writer, and her last book that she produced or wrote, created, whatever you want to call it, unbeknownst to her, it became a hit. She did was she's writing her book, and they're romance novels, and of course she got herself sucked into a romance with a guy. She fell for a scam artist because he ended up taking her for everything. I mean, literally, he robbed her financially, the whole thing. She subletted her apartment to a girlfriend who, her apartment was being renovated, so she was like, oh, so thankful. And so she got online and she found this house called the Whispering House. That's the name of it. She didn't even read all the fine print. That's usually what it is. She was just in such a hurry to get out of the city and just get somewhere so she could just get over this incident that happened to her. That's what I'm going to call it, incident. That's probably making it light. But anyway, so she rented this great big huge, and it looked like it was a haunted house based on her description. Right there, the book is going to be really, really interesting. And she did not realize it, that she was supposed to be taking care of the graveyard that is situated on the land of where this house is at. Now, this is all situated in a little town called Irving. She liked the fact that it was secluded so that she wouldn't have to be answering any questions, because she's totally embarrassed about what happened to her. And so she didn't really want to mingle. She just wanted to stay by herself, try to get over what happened to her, and then get back to her writing. Now, in the previous books, there's a Detective Terry, and of course he's going to make an appearance in this book, which we all love. Well, I love. I don't know about anybody else, but I love it when they bring back other characters from other books. I don't know, that's just me maybe, or, I guess it just makes you comfortable knowing that you know a little bit about the characters, the old characters, not the new ones that are being introduced, but the older ones that are already in it that you liked. And I believe that he got married in the meantime, because he was single at one time. But right now, all we do is, which I thought was kind of funny, is just learn about this place. So she, of course, arrives at night, because, that's going to make it spooky. Which I thought was appropriate for this quilt that we're making being spooky, okay? But anyway, so she arrives at night. She goes in. She tests out all the, she's looking with her iPhone, or not her iPhone. I don't know why I said iPhone. Her phone flashlight, because as she goes in, some of the light bulbs are burnt out in this house. Now, this house is not abandoned, it's just closed up. So, it's got white sheets all over the furniture and things like that. So, and it has very little internet connection. So she goes ahead and, she looks through a few rooms and everything. And this is a 2-story house. So she finds a room with internet connection, and it happens to be a small bedroom, downstairs bedroom, I believe, and the internet connection is 2 bars, and it's like in the corner of the room. So for her, this is a creepy place. So she gets in the bed for the night because it's already late. Covers up with a quilt. She discusses the quilt, a little bit about the quilt, the pattern, which I thought was pretty nice. And anyway, so she goes to sleep, and when she wakes up, she's woke to a rooster crowing, which happens to be in her bedroom. which I thought was kind of funny. Well, now, in the previous day before she woke up, and she was talking about all these sheets that are covering all the furniture and everything, and it not having any inhabitants in it for a while. The first thing I thought about was, oh my gosh, if you lift, and this is just my imagination. It's not like I've ever been in a house that had all these sheets covering your furniture or anything. But all I could think about was when she lifts those sheets, I would make sure that I was backed off, because Lord knows what's crawled up underneath the sheet, meaning spiders and bugs, and that's my imagination, but it's the country, and that's what gets in your house, whether you believe it or not. Of course, when she wakes up and this rooster's hollering at her, first thing she's trying to figure out is, how the heck did he get in? Because she didn't hear him last night. He was quiet. He was probably roosting somewhere. She looked around, couldn't find out where he got in, opened up the front door, and there's chickens out there at the porch. So he ran out real fast, of course, before he made his little deposit for her to have to clean up. So she went out in the kitchen looking for something to eat, found some farm fresh eggs. So she had eggs and coffee. And when she cracked the egg, she wasn't sure the egg was any good, because if y'all know anything about farm fresh eggs, the yolks are a dark orange when they're fresh eggs. They're not like store-bought light yellowish color. And then when she cooked them and ate them, she thought those were the best eggs she's ever had in a long, long time. Well, now she knows there's a groundskeeper, but they haven't showed up yet. The grass is pretty deep. She was scared of snakes and everything. She gets a phone call, and it's the caregiver, who happens to be sick at the moment, under the weather, so he hasn't been out to do anything, or he or she, because she can't identify the voice. She doesn't know if it's a man or a woman. Anyway, they said that as soon as they get well, they will come out, but not to forget to go out and open up the graveyard. And she's thinking, well, that's kind of weird. And then he explained to her that first it was a family graveyard, and then they opened it to the public. So since now it's considered a public graveyard, she has to open it every morning. So if townspeople want to come up, they can come up and visit the graves. Otherwise, she's got to lock it every night. She goes outside, of course, and she doesn't find it, too far away. Oh, and I forgot to say something real quick. So about the sheets. So after the bit about the sheets thing, and I'm thinking about all the bugs and whatnot, as soon as that rooster crowed and woke her up, the first thing I thought was, oh, well, she's got roosters and chickens. They'll take care of all those bugs. She just needs to put them in the house. And then after they eat them, you can get them back outside. So that was kind of funny. But anyway, so going forward, she goes ahead, she goes out there, she finds out that it's not far at all to that graveyard. About the time she gets there to unlock it, she hears a truck behind her pull up. And so this guy gets out. Now, mind you, she's trying to keep her identity a secret because she doesn't want anybody to know who she is. So he gets out, introduces himself, and he's come to put the flags on the graves because, ironically, I'm reading this, 4th of July, because this was started on, the 1st of July it started, and it's for the holiday. It's for actually the 4th of July. So he has a little box that's got a whole bunch of flags. So she opened it up and left, and he's hollering at her, wanting to know her name, but she doesn't want to give her name out because then she figures everybody will know who she is and she'll get bombarded with people hounding her and stuff like that. I can't recall if they said how big this town is. From what she said, it didn't sound big, but I don't know of an old, small, little bitty town that would have a great big, huge home on it. But anyway, so of course, all she's brought with her are her city clothes. Well, that's not going to work out there in the country. And all she had in the way of shoes were Keds. And if you all know what Keds tennis shoes are, those are good for nothing. Excuse me. Not for outdoor wear. Let's put it that way. Not good for nothing. They cover your feet. You can walk with them. But they're not going to take being out there in the dirt and the mud and the grass and whatever else you're going to encounter. Because she's encountering a chicken coop. Now, her responsibilities are to take care of the place. She's supposed to make the house as if it's livable. So she's going to have to take all those sheets off. She's going to have to clean the house, as if somebody's actually living in it so that it's not empty. And she's got like a 6-month, and if I read it right, it was a free lease. So she's not having to pay. She's doing the upkeep, and that's where the payment more or less comes in. So the first thing she thought was she needed to go to town and get some decent clothes to wear out there. Also, she had to get some cleaning supplies so that she could clean. So it left us at the fact that she went into, I think it was a garage, it was the garage or barn, I'm not sure. I think she collected the eggs. They didn't do a lot of talk about the egg collecting. And usually you do that first thing in the morning. But anyway, she found a bicycle. So being a city girl, she knew about bikes. So she went ahead and pumped up the tires, tested them out, make sure there was nothing wrong with them. There was a cute little basket in it, so that'll help her with whatever supplies she needs. And so she went ahead and rode her bike to town. Now, it was only like maybe a mile or two from town, and she's actually from the center of the town. So she lucked out there. So she goes into town and she realizes she is just happened to go in exactly when the parade's going on. So since she entered it, you know, like in the middle of it, she stopped and decided to go ahead and watch it. And the guy, I believe the man who came out in the truck's name was Sawyer, was his last name. I can't remember what his first name was. But he was there, and it seemed like everybody knew him. They were all shaking his hand, talking to him, patting him on the back, you know. Small town stuff. Everybody knows everybody. But anyway, so that's it. I'm not going to tell you anymore. If you are interested, go on over and read it. Now, for the first 10 days, and she's done this before. This is not the first time. But she will put the first 10 days up. And then after the 10 days are gone, she puts up only 1 day at a time. So you can't go back and read it. Just so that you know. So it's already into day 4 if you want to go check it out. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to finish these, and then I'll come back when we start the next one. Now we're going to cut these, and this is my rotary mat. So if you have not changed your blade and it is dull, it will literally roll up your fabric. That's how you tell it's dull. When you go to cut, the fabric jams. All right, so I'm using this little table here so that I don't have to pick up my fabric. And you line up, for all those that are new, you're going to go ahead and you line it from corner to corner where the thread crosses over, but you should be able to see where the thread crosses over. Otherwise, you're going to be either too far to the right or the left, depending on how you cut based on your right-handed or left-handed. So we're going to go straight up the middle. And I did put a new rotary cutter blade in there. That was the reason I had my little mishap this morning. Alrighty, I tried to do it last week and I couldn't get the darn screw loose. But the problem was that I tightened it before I loosened it. Oops, we skipped a spot here. Yeah. I know that was brand new because that was a brand new package. So I don't know what my problem is. Maybe it's not enough pressure here. There we go. Okay, so then they're going to look like this. You'll get 4 out of each square. And then let me see what the directions say for size. We're going to trim that down to a 2.5 inch square. So let me show you. Whoop, here's another one. So we'll take it. And in this case, I am going to iron it open. And the reason being that if you iron it open, it becomes a little bit bigger than if you don't. And this is already a small square. So let me get my small little ruler here. My 3.5 inch square to cut this down. Now this is just a regular ruler. This is not the block lock yet. So you take this ruler and where the line is across, and if you don't have this exact ruler by Creative Grizz, these are my favorites. You can use a different ruler. You're going to put the line, and I take the minimum off. I put the line right where I can see it, and I can see a little bit of fabric there. I can see a little bit of fabric there. So that's what I trim first. It'll take those little dog ears off, which are these little things right here. That's a dog ear. And then I'm going to flip it and do the same thing. And now I'm looking at this side over here for 2.5. So I come down to 2.5. And if you all have been watching my videos, you know that I want to see the line. Let me make sure you're close enough here. I want to see the line on my fabric. I don't want it off the fabric like this, because to me, that makes my square a little bit smaller. I want it on the line. I want to be able to see it. If I can see it on this fabric here, I can see where my white line is on this black fabric. So that's a 2.5 inch square. And then I put pressure on it. and then trim it. And that's a 2.5 inch square. I know that's little, but don't worry, that's the size. Okay, so 2.5. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna cut enough. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and cut all these up so I can set aside enough to do my bird, and I'll just set all the fabric aside to do the one bird. So before I go ahead and do these, I forgot to show you. I want to show you using this block lock right here. These come in a multiple colors. Let me make sure you can see it here. You can get them all different sizes. This came in a box one time for me. I don't remember. I don't know if Fort Worth Fabric Studio gave me this one. They do have this size. I think they may have given it to me on one of our projects when we were doing half square triangles. And I do the same thing. Now, you have to make sure where you put the shadowed piece of this block. And the reason being, when I put it on this left-hand side, which is the dark, I've ironed my fabric to the dark side, and I go up here, I can see at the top, which I'll show you here. Let me just bring my camera over here so you can see it better. See how that is the actual corner of the fabric? This is the corner right here. If you do it the other way, and I'm going to show you how with positioning your ruler. Although this is still the shadow on the block that's been the dark side that's been ironed, you note that this is not up in the corner. Here's the corner of the fabric. You're looking at the middle of the fabric, and it's over here. So if you cut this, you're going to be cutting it incorrectly. So that's what you got to pay attention to. Sorry, my hand is all over the place here. I'm trying to look and through the camera and look through this. So it has to be the other way around. So take this, it has to be this way, so that when you put it down on there, it makes the corner appear. I hope that explains it. If you do it wrong, believe me, you're going to know it, because your squares are going to all be off. They're not going to be squared where right now this is square, and you know this is going straight down the middle. Okay? And if that's the size you needed, you could just take these little tips off and you would be fine, but you know that it's squared up. It's got just as much black fabric on this side as it has white on that side. All right, let me go ahead and cut it. I've been known to do it wrong too one time. That's how I discovered it, that I had done it wrong. So let's go ahead and we're going to take off the minimum. And the difference between this ruler and the other one is this ruler already locked in and it won't move. So it's got you situated in there. Make sure there we go. There it is. That's nice. And let's go this way, and we're looking for 2.5, and this is 2.5. And like I said, I want to have my black line on it. And if you're not sure, take the little piece you cut before. That's not it. See how that has to be up higher? Because 2.5 is up here. I don't know what I'm looking at. I was looking at 2.25. That was my problem. I need to look at 2.5. There's 2.5 right there. I can see my black. You can't see it from the camera. I can see the black here. Right there. Put this on there. Here, we'll just exact right there. That's 2.5, just like that. Okay, make sure it's on there correctly. And then cut it. There we go. And now we have 2 of them. 2.5. Okay? All right, let's go ahead and finish that up. Alrighty, so I forgot to tell you to go ahead and take these 2 left over. You'd had 2 of these left over because there was 12, not 10. And you got to make them with these. I totally forgot until I just now went to do the next step and realized it. Go ahead and sew them up. I've got all my... I'm going to move you here. As you can see, all of that ends up being 40, so I got a stack of 20 each of the half square triangles. Okay, all done, 8 of them. 1 for each block. So that to that, and that to that. Let's do that. Did I put enough that's in there? As soon as we get done sewing these, that's all it's going to take to make the squares. Isn't in the way. There we go. I'm going to iron it before I put them together because all the pieces have been ironed. Here's how we're going to lay it out. So I took my top piece And then I've broken into sections, so I'm going to do the left-hand side, which we just did this. I took a break. One, I had indigestion really bad. Then I hear the pitter-patter of little feet, and Lainey's come up to visit me. And by her coming up to visit me, it means I need to go to the bathroom. Well, I go down the steps, and she didn't make it all the way up here without going to the bathroom, so she peed on the steps. So I cleaned that up. Now, she didn't do a whole bunch, just a little bit. Then I went and got him out of his cage, Bandit, took them both outside. They both did their business, brought him back in, went ahead and made a sandwich. This is where I'm going to talk to you about my sandwich. And then went ahead and came back up here and finished it. So I went ahead and I made all of these so that I can make each one of mine in a row. But let me explain what I'm doing here. So I'm dividing it up. So this is one side of the bird and this is the other side of the bird before we put this top on. So I'm going to sew these two together, then these two together, and then put these three together before I attach it to this one. Then I will go over here and I'll put these together, these together, these together, and then put this group to this and this to this. Then I'll attach it to that. Then when that's all done, I'll put this on. Now, if you find that one of your pieces of fabric, and I'm talking, now it won't be these because these are all the same size, but it'll be this strip or this strip. If it's just a little bit longer than your, when I get all these together, when I get all these together, if that's a little longer, that one goes on the bottom when I sew them together. Because your feed dogs will literally feed up a little bit and take care of that distance. Now I'm talking about just a teeny weeny distance, not a quarter of an inch or anything like that. You'll end up with darts with that. But I'm just saying, because normally 9 times out of 10 when you're making a block and you've got strips in it, the strips are normally a little bit bigger. Maybe. Just depends on how you're sewing. Now all of this is a quarter of an inch. So let me tell you about my sandwich real quick when I start sewing this. Now if you lay all these out, pay attention to how you're picking them up so that you don't get them turned around and confused. Okay, so I went down there and I thought, well, I forgot what I had in my refrigerator. But I knew that I wanted to make a sandwich. So I bought, or I purchased, or whatever, Vidalian onions, if anybody knows what those are. Oh, my thread just became unthreaded. I'm not quite sure why, so we're going to rethread that. Anyway, so I bought Vidalia onions at, where did I get them at? Wegmans. That's where I got them. And I got 2 of them. Oh, well, that didn't work. So I went ahead and I thought, well, I'll take a chance, I'll get 2. It is very hard to find Vidalia onions in this town. I don't know why, but it is. Because when they're marked Vidalia onions, they're not Vidalia onions. They're just plain old onions, which to me are hot. Very seldom can you get a sweet onion. Now, Vidalia is very, very sweet. It's almost as if it was grown in sugar, believe it or not. It's that sweet where you can just eat it straight out. You don't even need to have anything else with it. That's how good it is. Well, anyway, so I got them and cut them up and smelled them, and I'm thinking, well, and it's been a long time since I've had them because every time I try to buy them, they're not, even though they're labeled Vidalia, they're not Vidalia. They are hot yellow onions is what the color is. So I went ahead, sliced up the whole entire thing. I'm going to go ahead and chain stitch this since it's just 2 of them. Hopefully I haven't messed them up while I was talking to y'all. And then first I put a little bit in my egg because, you know, even if it were hot, I wouldn't have a problem with just a plain onion in my egg. I don't have to have sweet onion in my egg. I've had regular onion before. My family doesn't really care for onions. I'm the person that eats the onions. But anyway, and I thought, well, it's not really sweet, but it's not really hot either. So, maybe it's just me. I'm not going to worry about it. I'm trying to check to see if this is the correct direction based on this paper. How to put my bird together. I don't want to mess it up. Okay, looks like I got it right. Nope, it doesn't look like I got it right. Because my half square triangle doesn't go towards the bottom. It goes towards the top, and somehow I got that messed up. Okay, so somehow I've already got it turned around. Shanabakan. Okay, let me take that out. So anyway, I thought I'd go ahead and just make this sandwich with a piece of onion. So I took a bite, and sure enough, it is an actual Vidalia onion. Now I'm like so happy I got 2 of them. I mean, geez, they taste good with fried potatoes. And I'm going to make a tomato salad later. And that's got, my tomato salad has tomatoes, onion, garlic, salt and pepper, basil, and then a little bit of oil. So I really, really enjoy tomato salad. So that's what I'm going to make. And my tomatoes are those little on the vine. So they're not like the big full-size tomato. They're just the smaller ones, which I kind of think are sweeter than most big ones. But anyway, so I just had to stop and tell you about that. I'm so happy with my sandwich. So when I got in the refrigerator and started getting all my ingredients out, I look on the shelf with the eggs and I'm thinking, oh, for crying out loud, here I made a sandwich. I could have just had my leftover breakfast from yesterday, which I went to Panera and got a breakfast sandwich, which was a sausage, egg, and cheese on an Asiago cheese bagel. So half of that is still in my fridge, so maybe I'll have it later for dinner or something. All right, now I've got to correct this and sew it. And I'll show you which one it was. Somehow I got that one. I got this turned around upside down. It's supposed to go like, let me put that down, like this. That's how it's supposed to go. I had it like that. I had it down and it has to go up towards the black to make this crow. So let me sew that together. I don't know how the heck I did that. That's why I say you gotta be really careful. So this is like 2 boo-boos already made, because you know, well, not really, yeah, 2, because the first mistake I made was when I did when I was making this, sewing around the squares to do the half square triangles, and sewed 2 of them with the outside fabric on both sides instead of the outside fabric, well, the right side of the fabric facing each other. I was like, how the heck did I get that turned around? Thank God it was only on 2 of them. And I found it before I cut it, because, oh, that would have been a catastrophe had I waited and found it after the fact. Okay, so before I even sew these now, I'm going to iron them because they're going to be nestled. And you want to have them ironed. It's easier to iron them and then nestle them. So hold on, I'll be right back. And sew these. I was thinking about going ahead and doing my next week's video, because I'm going to have less time next weekend to get it done because of my seminar. So we have a seminar on Thursday, Friday, and half a day Saturday, which leaves me half a day Saturday. But I went ahead and I looked over how to make it, and it's not going to be that hard to make it. And then another thing was that if I do that, then you're not going to hear the story about the graveyard girl. So I figured y'all might want to be caught up on that, because that'll be another, what, 7? No. It'll be like 6 or 7 days of the story. I don't know if y'all are interested in it, but for those that don't read it, you might be interested in it. And you know, this to me is like the fastest time goes by now that I'm into this story. First, it's like, I feel like it takes forever to get the story started in July, but then all of a sudden July is here. And then between July and December, and I hate to say it, it just speeds by. Because, you know, when you're doing something every single day, which I'm reading this story, the time flies by. You just don't think about it. But it does. So, all right, let's put this other half on, or this other third, actually, not a half. And I got to thinking, I had told you that I was going to tell you about the book Mirror, Mirror, but when I went to try to find it, if I could, you know, to purchase it, I have the book, but I know lots of people would like to purchase it and read it. It's out of print, and I don't know where you would be able to get another book like it. I mean, there's a lot of books out there called that, but not this specific one. We were even looking online when I was talking to the girls out at work, because when I was telling them about it, they said, oh my gosh, I want to read that. And I said, well, I can't find it. I don't know where it's being published or who's taking care of that. I have no clue. So unless I can find it, I don't really want to, I mean, it'd be great to hear the story, but if you wanted to go and read it yourself, and I've already read it a couple of times, I like it. I mean, you know, every time you read a book, if you've read it more than once, you usually catch up on whatever it is that you've missed out on. All right, now I'm going to go ahead and before I attach the top and the bottom, I'm going to go ahead and do these next set of rows. I went ahead and sandwich them all together to keep from getting them turned around and confused. And then I'll just go ahead and I will chain stitch these. So that's the bottom two. And then this is the next set. Let's see how if I can mess these up. I hope not. Oh, lordy, lordy. I try to lay them down exactly how they have to be sewn. And then I'll iron these before we put all of these three together, these three sets. Alrighty. Wherever they got to be nestled, I'll put a pin in. So that's what I've done here. And then I'll just mark up the, or not mark, but hold on to the bottom down here. And then I'm not going to iron it. I'm just going to go ahead and do the next one because it's, remember, each set of pieces has been ironed. So when I get done, I iron the whole thing. Then I'll set this aside while I do the top of the other one before we put the whole thing together. Remember, we're making 8 of these now. Alrighty, so this had just a little bit on that bottom strip, a little bit longer. So I went ahead and I pinned the very beginning where I'm starting. I call these intersections because this is where your block attached to another block, so it's flipped over. Doesn't have to be matched. You don't have to be nestling anything there. And then what I did was I spaced it out between the pins because you don't want the whole part that's extra to be filled in at the very tail end. You want it to be established throughout the entire length of the thing that you're sewing. And now we're going to go ahead and iron that open, and we'll get ready to attach it to the other piece. On this one, to pin it, I pin everywhere there is a intersection or there's just got this one little spot at the very beginning that nestles. And I go up as close to that pin as I can before I take that pin out. And the others is because it's on the other side and I can't see it and I don't want it to flip over. If it flips over, I feel like I've got to stop and take out the stitches to get it to righten itself. And then we're going to iron this piece before we attach it to the very tip top. Okay, I have it all pinned along this side, and so I'm going to go ahead and stitch it. And I think I said it already once, but as far as do I iron to the right or iron to the left, it's whichever direction that this wants to go, that's the one I do it in. And so far this one seems to be going okay in the same direction. Doesn't seem to be causing any kind of issues going to the right or the left. They all matched up. I didn't have to re-iron anything to get it to nestle or anything like that, so it seems to be okay. Take a look at this one. Here's our block. Now keep in note that this is the 1/4 inch right here. So that'll be a tip for when we connect this to the other pieces to make the actual finished quilt. All right, but that's the top and here's the bottom. I think it turned out pretty good, and it's pretty neat that that star was in the middle on that bird right there. Okay, let's go ahead and do the other 7, and then we'll have this week finished. Okay, so I have them all laid out, so I will chain stitch them so that I can get all these done at the same time. Okay, finally got all 8 of them done. And like I said, wait for the end of the video so that you can see the before and after pictures of Bandit's haircut. And I will see you for the next week 4 of As the Crow Flies. I am so glad that there was a crow in here because I have never done a crow before. Look at this cute little star right above his head and where his eye would be. So till next time, I hope you enjoyed this video. Give me a thumbs up if you did. If you'd like to make a comment, go ahead and do that. Let me know if you're following Stephanie Bond's serial, The Graveyard Girl, and enjoy the week. Thanks for watching. Take care, everybody, and welcome to all my new subscribers. Bye-bye. There you go, walkabout. That shows your size if you stick around me. Come on, move over here. Famous flip over, rub my belly, mama. Rub my belly, mama. I like that. Yes, I do. That's what he's famous for. Yes, he's famous for that. Let me see your face. You can see your pretty face. Here's your pretty face. Where's your pretty face at? There it is. There it is, right there. There's a good boy. There's a good boy. Yeah. Okay. Well, here's my baby all pooped. He and his brother played all day long. It's about 9:45, and he is literally wiped out. Look at him laying there. He couldn't even keep his eyes open. He was actually rubbing them earlier. But as you can see, he's got a pretty short haircut there.